question on everybody's minds was Rudy Giuliani loaded during election night? Yes, believe it or not, that was a question that was asked during the January 6th committee hearing. Now, that's important in context because that was the same night where Giuliani had advised Donald Trump to declare victory before all the votes were counted. So now we know that thanks to former Trump aide Jason Miller. In his testimony on Monday, he told the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riots that Rudy Giuliani was without a doubt drunk when he told the former president to prematurely declare victory on election night 2020. Because again, when you're drunk, well, I mean, who doesn't do things, prematurely when they've had a few drinks? I mean, lots of stories of that, stuff like that happening, premature everything. Okay. Oh, anyway. So now, during Monday's public hearings, the committee played video of Miller testifying about the atmosphere in the Trump White House on election night, where Giuliani was urging Trump to ignore the advice of his campaign staff and say that he won the election before all the ballots are counted. In fact, I am going to show you that video. Take a look.
Was there anyone in that conversation who, in your observation, had too much to drink?
Like Rudy Giuliani.
Tell me more about that. What was your observation about his potential intoxication during that discussion about what the president should say when he's addressed the nation on election night?
And the mayor was definitely intoxicated, but I do not know that his level of intoxication when he spoke with the president, for example. There were suggestions by, I believe it was Mayor Giuliani, to go and declare victory and say that we'd won it outright.
It was far too early to be making any calls like that. Ballots were still being counted. Ballots were still going to be counted for days. And it was far too early to be making any proclamation like that.
I remember saying that, to the best of my memory, and I was saying that we should not go and declare victory until we had a better sense of the numbers. I think effectively Mayor Giuliani was saying, we won it. They're stealing it from us. Where'd all the votes come from? We need to go say that we won. And essentially that anyone who didn't agree with that position was being weak.
All right, so that's the situation. On election night, Rudy Giuliani was blasted. Now, look, honestly, the guy's well known as being a drunk, so he's like 99% of the time, he's usually, a few pints deep, at least. Now, here's the thing, though. To be, in his words, and Jason Miller's words, definitely intoxicated, well, you would have to assume that he drank a lot, right? I mean, again, for a functional alcoholic, and believe me, I've had some personal experience, not myself, but, I've been around people who are functional alcoholics, and let me tell you, you generally can tell when they've had even more, okay? Again, people who drink all the way throughout the day, later on, when it really starts to affect them, it's because they've had a lot. And so you'd have to assume that this guy was super, super blitzed. Now, I say that in context, not to make fun of somebody with a drinking problem. No. Addiction is a real issue. Alcohol addiction, drug addiction, etc. No, what I'm pointing at here is that this is the guy whom Donald Trump was like, that guy nailed it, smart person, very, very intelligent. I'm going to listen to him, and I'm going to do exactly what he says. We're going to declare victory. Now, that said, of course, look, it wouldn't have mattered what anybody had said. It wouldn't have mattered if Rudy Giuliani would have said. Donald Trump had already made it up in his head that he had won, regardless of the numbers. That was something that wasn't going to change. Okay? But that gets to the point. And what the January 6th committee is trying to do is that they're basically pointing out how almost every single advisor Trump had was saying the same thing. We don't have the numbers. We don't have the numbers. We're not going to have them in tonight. So for the love of God, don't go out there and declare victory, because we don't know. We don't have the numbers. They're still counting the votes. No, people are not voting anymore. The voting is done. We're just counting them all. These aren't new votes that are coming in. They're not finding these votes mysteriously. They're just being counted. And sometimes that counting is slow, especially when you have COVID, a pandemic, where you had a lot of mail-in absentee ballots. And we knew this was going to be a thing. We knew that it was going to take a long time to get these counted. But now Giuliani is like, oh no, man. Hey, just declare victory. Trust me, it'll totally work. It'll totally work. But no, I've got more video here. In fact, this is Stepien here. He's going to, again, make the point that Trump ignored him and the rest of, in the advice of everyone else who did not agree with him. Take a look.
My belief, my recommendation was to say that votes were still being counted. It's too early to tell, too early to call the race. But, we proud of the race we ran, and we, think we're in good position, and we'll have more to say about this, the next day or the next day, whenever we had something to say.
And did anybody who was a part of that conversation disagree with your message?
Yes.
Who was that?
The president disagreed with that. I don't recall the particular words. He thought I was wrong. He told me so, and that they were gonna, go in a he was gonna go in a different direction.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
All right, so now the question here is, what does this mean in the bigger picture, right? Well, look, the committee is basically setting up a case where they're showing that Donald Trump knew that he had lost the election, and that despite pretty much everyone around him, save for a couple of voices like Giuliani, telling him so, he continued to go on and claim that he had won the election, that there was no way that he couldn't have won, and so, hey, I won, but the numbers don't match up, which means what? It means voter fraud. And that he wanted to declare victory, despite knowing that he did not win the election. And that's exactly what he did. And his continued refusal, in the face of his very clear loss, to concede, in that he would promote baseless conspiracy theories. Again, we have record of this. We've heard him talk about these conspiracy theories, and those, unfortunately, partly led to the January 6th riots. And so you can really kind of see that they're trying to paint Trump as culpable for what happened on January 6th using all of this video evidence. And again, he also put out the message, Trump did, of I got robbed, millions of illegal votes, lots of voter fraud, the Democrats, they cheated, they stole the election, I had actually won, and the reason that we didn't win is because we had these things.
They call them dumps, big massive dumps.
The dumps, there were dumps that were everywhere. Dumps in Michigan, dumps in Pennsylvania, dumps in my toilet, big, massive dumps. You can't actually flush the toilet because there's so much dumps. Yeah, from him literally shredding paper and shoving it into the toilet. But no, that's the thing though. The unspoken part of all of this is The election was stolen from me and you. Now, what are you going to do about it? And so that, again, millions of people got that message. And thousands of people turned out to the Capitol to do something about it. I'm going to show you a poll here. This is from last year, and the numbers have been holding pretty steady. So this is, again, a UMass Amherst poll conducted December 14th, 2021. It's a YouGov poll. Here you had 25% of Republicans thinking that Biden's win was, probably not legitimate. But 46% of Republicans think definitely not legitimate. I mean, look at that. It's nearly half of all Republicans that say definitely not legitimate. It's voter fraud. With absolutely no evidence to back it up. And so that, again, the reason that they believe this is because their media, Donald Trump and others, have been pushing this complete and utter falsehood nonstop. Not just after the election, by the way. There was a setup years before this election even happened, where he would go out and he would say, if I lose this next election against a Democrat, it's because of voter fraud. Not because I lost because, they ran a better campaign, or I didn't run a good campaign, or that COVID, which, look, let's be honest about why Trump lost. It was COVID. Had he had a better reaction on COVID, he probably would have beaten Joe Biden. But again, the way that the right wing works now is never accept any responsibility. It is always someone else's fault. It is always someone, either their fault, they messed up, or it's a conspiracy, it's a plot against us. And therefore, you can't trust anyone who doesn't agree. It's just a complete and utter alternate reality. It's a bubble. And unfortunately, that bubble ended up leading to some pretty serious stuff.